All right, hey guys, it's Dan Ross here, North American Home Services, and I got my buddy Ryan Lundquist, the appraisal guru here in the Sacramento area. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how the appraisal and the termite inspection can potentially overlap. So Ryan, thanks for having me and letting me grill you a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me be here.
Absolutely. We're just looking to provide some information. So first thing I'm going to ask is have Ryan just kind of talk about what the appraiser is looking for, because a lot of times with things we don't think about when ordering home or termite inspections.
Sure. So, and I guess I'll just talk to everyone here. So the appraiser's there for value. And so that's the bottom line, and wants to, we just need to look for anything that's going to potentially impact value, stuff that's going to create value, stuff that's going to be a detriment to value. So we're looking at condition and layout and bedroom count, bathroom count, all those things, and wood decay. And so I'm sure we'll get into that too.
Absolutely, that's the big one for us. Obviously, being a repair and construction company, and our job is as defined by the Structural Pest Control Board to identify dry rot and the reasons that it's being caused, and obviously we want to fix it or make it right or make sure that somebody fixes it.
For sure, yeah. And notice I didn't call it dry rot because I'm not allowed to say that.
Yeah,
yes, I call it wood decay.
That's right. I get to utilize my license on that one.
Absolutely.
The branch 3 termite license. We can call it dry rot when it's dry rot. So very cool, man. So like I said, Ryan, we're super interested in kind of what you do and obviously how it affects the real estate process. So. When you guys discover, or maybe I don't know if you can speak for the whole industry, but ultimately when you discover a deficiency in a property or a defect, and it is in regard to dry rot or something along those lines, how do you guys address that? Is it just something that negatively counts against an appraisal or a value? Or can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, when we discover wood decay, as we would call it, we basically make the report subject to that being cured. Okay, and so we would say, we're not experts in that, and so we would say, client to investigate further by a qualified professional, and the appraiser reserves the right to, change the opinion of value. Because obviously if it comes back that there's $23,000 in pest damage, that's a big deal, and that's going to sway value. But most of the time, if there's extensive damage and it's obvious, it's almost like I don't even need the number that there's $7,300 in damage, because I can just say this needs to be cured. It doesn't matter how much there is, but any Section 1 damage is going to need to be cured. Any evidence of active infestation is going to need to be cured. Yeah. And it's really not even about the loan, whether FHA or conventional. I mean, if there is active infestation, it's an issue for the house, for not only the value, but safety, all that. And so from an appraisal standpoint, the appraiser is going to check that little box that says, subject to these things being repaired.
Very cool. So we're on the same page, right? We want to get it fixed. And again, that's just, we always joke, maintenance is cheaper than repair. Take good care of your home, paint it regularly, have inspections done, get professional tradespeople out there to make sure that your home's in good shape, and you'll be better in the long haul for it. Another one that comes up to us that I wanted to talk with Ryan about is, do appraisers go in crawl spaces? I know my termite inspectors and my home inspectors sometimes go, there's no way anyone's down here in 10 years. So Ryan, do you guys go in crawl spaces?
Okay, thankfully we don't go fully with the big suit like you guys do, like our Breaking Bad suits. That doesn't happen. But for FHA, appraisers are required to do what's called a head and shoulders inspection of the crawl space and of the attic. And so you might see the appraiser show up with a ladder. It's not okay just to have a camera and then to hold it up and to take a photo. I've heard that happens. It shouldn't be happening, but definitely appraisers, at least for FHA, as long as there's access, they need to be doing that. Sometimes conventional lenders want that, but I would say it's more rare than not. But FHA absolutely expect that.
Perfect. And then we talked a little bit, last thing we'll touch on real quick, we'll wrap this up. I know you talked about kind of a recent trend of the appraisals even being written out of contract. So you talked to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So appraisal waivers, I think it's a huge trend this year. We're starting to see, it seems like more and more of them where lenders are not requiring an appraisal. And so what could go wrong, right? And so it seems like the rules mostly are safe for the most part right now, but I think my big concern is what happens in the future. And so kind of a frog in the kettle situation where if there's safeguards in place for when an appraisal is not needed right now, what'll happen though in the future? I think that's what has a lot of appraisers really concerned. So I will say real quick about your job and my job. A lot of times appraisers don't see the deficiencies. They don't know specifically about them because we don't have access to the reports. And so I wanted to mention that because if we gain access, then all of a sudden see that report, there's $11,000 in wood decay. Well, an appraiser can't ignore
Absolutely.
that. And so I think sometimes, we were talking before, that's why the appraiser and then the pest inspector, home inspector, they're not showing up at the property on the same time. Maybe that's intentional, I don't know.
Intentional, unintentional. That's none of our business, I guess, in the long run.
For sure. But if I see someone there as an appraiser, I'm certainly going to ask, hey, so what are you finding?
Sure.
Or if it looks like, wow, there's some real damage here, then as an appraiser, I'm going to sometimes ask for that report. Hey, I know an inspector was out there. Can you please provide that report? Because I know from my eye, I can't call it dry rot, but there's some stuff going on. There's some really spongy places, and I don't have my prod. I'm not, breaking apart the wood, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely, and it's funny because I think ultimately in the long run in our business, in the real estate environment, you've got someone who's looking to sell a house and someone who's looking to buy a home that they potentially, want to fall in love with and make a home. And, I think it's important to recognize the fact that both of our jobs are just really to try and make sure that they're as well informed as they possibly can be.
Yeah.
It's not our job to say if they want to go over, and offer more than an appraised value and come up with creative ways to do that. It's not our job to say that. Much like, on the termite side, it's not our job to even, say yes or no, this is a great home to move into. We're just providing information to make educated consumers in the market. So.
Yeah. And not your job to ignore certain things so a deal can go through. I think there's that pressure on appraisers sometimes too, but that's not really the role. Does the lender want to do the loan based on all the facts? That's really up to them. It's up to the underwriter.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Ryan. This was fun. We'll have to do it again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.